extra rings.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so I know there's been concern on attendance and or location for presentations. And it's actually pretty
That's
darn good
Casey Hughes,
timing
right?
because I met with Department of Extension yesterday and their ag team and Tim. And actually visiting with them going back a few years, even when we did it in the Mercantile building and they had manned displays, they found that it wasn't very productive even in that building and that they weren't getting many folks actually stopping by to, to talk about things. So they went away from booths there because they didn't feel it was very productive. But yet we want to try to do education. What's always worked well for us, obviously, is the animal shows and all the other things. We reach the public that way about agriculture, but we would like to do more. And you guys have tried to do the same thing, and we would like to do that. So instead of trying to force people to go up and have it in the new building, other things we do up there have worked well. The pie contest, talent show, senior day, those sort of things. Last year, we even went to having trams. We were picking people up down in the center of the fairgrounds and bringing them up and explaining the activities that was going on there. And we would get people up there and they wouldn't get off the trams. They just liked going for a ride. They didn't care necessarily about what was going on. So instead of trying to force it on folks, what we thought we would do extension wise and for Ag Day this year, we're going to try and have Ag Day on Wednesday. Woolkit Park, which is our pavilion where we have the bands down in the center of the fairgrounds, is open on Wednesday until about 4:30, 5 o'clock. That's when the bands start to set up. So that's open. And we're going to do static displays there, or if one of their ag vendors wants to man their booth, they can. Extension has a movie and a video screen. They put together a video on Ontario County agriculture a few years ago, but it's still pretty relevant. It's not all that old, and that can run on a continuous loop. And then there's other ag folks that have set up and done things there. So we plan to do that on Wednesday. And then another way to try to interact with the public, we're then in each species barn at a specific time each day, 4 or 5 o'clock, we're going to have youth available for people that go through those barns that can talk about cows or pigs or chickens. And we have information, we have banners with information, so we can do a little education to the public in each of those buildings during the week. So this is what we're thinking then for Ag Day, is having those displays there. And what's happened in the Mercantile building, we've now gotten full in there with vendors. That was one of the reasons that we started to go up in the new building, is because now that where we used to set up is now full with vendors. So if there's something the town would like to display, you're certainly welcome. That's a fairly good sized building. You're certainly welcome to consider putting on something if you want to. There's electric, there's all kinds of things because we have bands. So, we got speakers there's all kinds of capabilities. If you were to decide, to try a program, you're certainly welcome to do that. Or if you'd rather put together some kind of information relating to the town or something pertinent to the town, certainly could do that also.
So you said Extension has a ag video that you're going to be showing at some point?
Yes, they've got an ag video specific on Ontario County. I think it was Keith Titteball when he was a programmer there went around and put it together. So there's certainly farms and things that would be recognizable. It's still very pertinent information. I think, it had orchards and stuff, and it had some statistics with it. So it was very informational on Ontario County agriculture. So that will run. They plan to have a booth. They always do have a display in the Mercantile Building all week long. They still plan to do that, but then they'll do some additional thing. Maybe each of their teams, they got a livestock team and a field crops team, vegetable team. They make grapes. They may see if each of those teams want to set up Wednesday in there, as well as then Karen Rugenstein has always worked with other vendors on Ag Day that come out and will set up a booth, a table. So plan to do that at this point. It sounds like, there could be a significant number of displays in there. And hopefully with this video showing, that may help draw some folks in as there, and it's right by the ice cream stand. It's right in the center of activity.
So, and that video, that's going to be shown just at a particular time, or is it just going to be kind of running throughout the day?
That could just be running. That's what they did the last time they used it, is it just continued to run. Public comes in, some public starts coming in at about 10, 11 o'clock to start seeing the shows. It's more like noon, 1 o'clock before there's much activity on a weekday. And of course, then with bands and grandstands and work, people don't, there's not the major folks are in there from 5 o'clock on. And we have to kind of be pulling down by then for the band, for the bands to play. Now, there's always the opportunity we could kind of set up toward the rear of Wolcott Park, and we may still be able to leave some things up for more people to look at, because typically during the week we don't need the full space there either. But we'd have to kind of play that by ear and be ready to pull down by 5 o'clock for the band setup.
Okay, just out of curiosity, the new building that isn't getting as much traffic, what are you going to use that for now? So what we have done in the past, Tuesday is senior day, so it's fairly busy on Tuesday during the day, and then we have the pie auction there at night, and we're pretty busy with it there at night too. Then we also on Saturday we have our talent show, and people set up, and that's gone well, because that's where it is, and people that want to see their folks in the talent show, that's where they go to. So you would think if you're having a specific event and it's known and advertised and listed, if people want to go to that event, they would go to it wherever it is, that they don't just happen to stop by on a whim. But that hasn't necessarily been the case, or at least it hasn't drawn any other specific like Ag Day things. Farm Bureau has had some things. Farm Bureau had a few things there, and they had some people come to it. I'm not sure having it in the Mercantile Building would draw more people that had interest in seeing it. It might seem busier because people are walking by, but as far as people stopping to watch or take part, I don't know. And that's what Extension came to the conclusion is, maybe folks that are coming to the fair aren't coming to see a presentation necessarily. So if we're having a focused type thing like the senior day, pies, talent show,
folks are coming there. Farm Bureau had a thing there, and that was pretty well attended. So we're just going to do those sorts of things there. That was part of the reason for building it, is to have that and give us some space. The larger reason was to have more presence in a venue throughout the year where we can have other agricultural events and to have more curb appeal as you go by. We worked on that through our master plan and realized that as you drive by, really, there's not a lot you can see from the road or realize there's something going on. All the buildings and activities and stuff are set back in. So curb appeal is one of the things. And then to be able to have a venue that is not dedicated to boats, because we were pretty limited on being able to help promote agriculture, except during fair, because our facilities are used for storage, which is a very good contract and very helpful to us, but we're not able to take part in other agricultural promotion except then, where now we can. And Farm Bureau and Extension has had multiple events there since we've been open. They've got an event in there next week, one in August. CCE was in there in October. Farm Bureau was in there in October. So we've had several events there beyond Fair Week, which was one of the goals. We have a few public things that have been booked that are in there. So those things are happening.
Okay. Does anybody else here have any questions for Casey?
There's certainly time to think about. Things are going into print next week, but Ag Day is going to be listed. So flyers and posters and things are going to go into print next week. If you were to decide, and it could be just a simple thing, Town of Canandaigua presents at 2:00, or Town of Canandaigua Ag presentation, 2:00, Wolcott Park. It could be as simple as that, and you can work on what you think it might be if you think there is an interest, just so it's in print and on our stuff. Or if you decide, we'll put something together that we can display, that's good too. But if you want to discuss and think about, if you got something you want advertised on our schedule, we've got to Monday, Tuesday next week to do that. But it wouldn't have to be specific what it would be. But that's the type of audience, that I think you would be grabbing on a weekday in the afternoon before we have to free that up. But it might, perhaps it's certainly something you could try where at least there is more foot traffic walking by, for what that's worth.
Okay, well, thanks for the information, and we'll discuss it and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, we certainly would like to do something. We've tried, as you know, we've tried for several years, and Extension has even in the center of the fair, and didn't feel that they were reaching many people that way, even being there and being in person. So for what it's worth, could do that, or certainly keep it in mind if there's something you decide to do a different month. If you're looking for a venue and something else comes up and you wish you had a larger spot to gather people in, we certainly can entertain that.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind too.
All right. Well, any other questions, certainly let me know, and especially by Monday, if you would like to be listed as at least doing something on that day.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it was pretty darn good timing, because we just discussed this yesterday with Extension.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. All
Thanks,
righty.
Casey.
Yep. Thanks. Bye.
seeing that sign. We have extra ones, just putting that one around the town, around the fair.
We have, it was from the parade a few years ago. I think we have 4 or 5 of those.
And we can put some of those in the entrance of each of the animal buildings. And
We still have the old posters that we made years ago when I asked Jim Fletcher to talk about how farming and the highway department work together. I don't remember what it says. It just talks about cooperation on the roads. There was something
can-
else too.
Hang one of those in the city now, right?
Huh? Oh, I don't know.
No,
I think my opinion is trying to do a presentation like we've done in the past doesn't seem to really be worth all the effort.
Maybe not at the fair. Maybe it's something like we did years and years ago when this committee first started. Like that forum or panel or whatever we did.
yeah,
Oh, when we were first making the
Mhm.
plan and everything.
I mean, that, something like that, but that would probably be done in partnership with some other groups.
somebody else.
But yeah, at the fair, I agree. I mean, we have tried. He's right. We have tried, and the people who come are appreciative, but there's never very many people. And a lot of the people who come have already heard us talk about what we're there to talk about.
Is there anything new to talk about?
It's not very centrally located either.
Right.
But he's probably right. Like he said, most people don't go to the fair for that. They take their kids to see stuff.
Look at the animals
Animals.
and the rides.
So there's some room to put up some signs like that. That's probably good, but
Some sort of a static display.
I don't know that we need to do a lot more than that.
even
mean-
if we use as little handouts that says if you want more information about
Mhm, we could do that.
agricultural.
We
email
could
this.
put together another poster. We can get those printed pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Like
that's
these.
a little flyer would be good. Even just information about the committee.
Sounds
Maybe we'll
to me like,
recruit more members, even if you find one person that's interested.
Yeah. Town of Canandaigua is active on agriculture. If you want to learn more about what happens or participate in committees, email here, or email there.
sounds to me like they're using the facilities more and more as we go on for other things.
Those little flyers can be on one of those little plastic things on
Yeah.
one of these signs,
Mhm.
so that calls the attention, and and then no one has to mind that.
That sounds like a plan. Move on to our referrals. Something else on the fair?
It certainly is very interesting to see what's happening in the world today, especially with agriculture and the lack of, food and the embargo, from the war in Ukraine, restricting, that transfer of food to places like Africa and the Middle East. And I don't know if everybody realizes, but China just bought the US's entire soybean crop right out of our silos. Food is a much larger global subject, and it's really a sad thing, when you think about it, that the county fair can't even take into consideration a committee that's specifically designed to go ahead and address agricultural issues within the town that the fair is being held in.
I don't think it's they're not taking us into account,
Well,
but he's right. It hasn't been well attended. Maybe we're
It's not-
just telling the wrong story, or it's the wrong place to
That's
tell the
right.
story.
yes, what's the perception of what the town of Canandaigua is in relationship to agriculture, and what's the perception of what the Ag Committee does?
Is the problem the topic, or is the problem the attitude of the general population that they just don't care to learn? Just choose any topic, forget agriculture, any topic.
Yeah,
People don't like to learn, they just want to just get a little meme and just laugh about it and move on, and they are ignorant about just about every topic.
Well, you look at some other ag education events, and a lot of those are very well attended. I think the fair may just not be the right setting for that type of thing. But you look at some other, like Fun on the
I
Farm
was
is
just gonna
one,
say Fun on the Farm is
and
always.
other things like that, that seem to be pretty well attended. But in general, I do think that sometimes people don't care too much if it doesn't, till it really affects them. People are so fortunate in this country
Mhm.
that that's part of the problem.
And I don't disagree with you. People should understand more the impact that what's going on in Europe is having on them.
Yes.
But you talk with general population.
Yeah.
They're very clueless. It's sad, it's very sad. They're very clueless.
We've discussed it before, but are they doing anything in the schools? You know, farm to table, anything, anybody?
I mean, we know, we're not in the Canandaigua district anymore, so I don't know as much what's going on there, but do you remember? Gosh, I forgot his last name,
had
his
somebody
first
from the
name was
cafeteria?
Todd.
Yeah.
He was the
Todd.
food,
Yeah.
he was the guy that did all the ordering, the bulk ordering for food for the Canandaigua and the Bloomfield school districts.
Right.
You guys remember him? And so I know he tried really hard to buy from farmers in New York if he could. It was, he said, I remember him saying it was really hard to do local, but New York State, he usually could come up with something to do a meal like once a week that was totally New York sourced.
He had to hit certain percent so he could get extra funds.
That was the only way he could get funding for doing farm to school program. I don't know what he's done now. I can always ask and
I was going
reach
to
out
ask.
and see if that's still happening.
There's not a lot that's going on in the school, I don't think, because my kids are in Canandaigua and there's not.
Do they still do the second grade or the third grade tour where they come through your farm?
Well, I think they will again, but they haven't
Right.
for the last 2 years. So that's really messed everything up.
So not to get too far down the road, but is there anything that we can do for the town of Canandaigua's agricultural community to go ahead and show people that attend the fair, perhaps they would be interested to see what actually is being produced in our area and how it impacts the rest of the world. So, I started on a global basis and went to a local basis. Now I'm starting to look at it from a local basis. And where does all of that go to on a global basis? Is that important? I think it's interesting. I would find it very much so interested, where the soybeans from this area are going. I mean, they're going to a dryer, they're going to a train, they're being shipped to central locations, they're going on a ship.
That sounds like a good static display, a poster that describes it, even uses a local
Yeah.
farmer as an example. I grow soybeans. Here's where they go. They end up here, whether it's in the US or wherever they end up.
Hmm.
Most people wouldn't, I mean, I don't know that. So
Or
yeah.
just the amount produced,
Yeah.
I think you got to stay away from just the statistics. You have to provide a personal story.
We,
Pictures. So if we get a series of posters that says Canandaigua, town of Canandaigua Farms, and we start putting pictures of the products coming out of the farms or the farms itself.
and
do
I
a
think some actual
representation
farm
of-
families here, I mean, like, we can use yours as an example, but some of the other ones too, like maybe Mark Stryker would put something together. We did, not really, but we remember that one year he brought a corn plant that was like 7 feet tall, and we had seeds and other stuff, and people had to guess what they were. It was an interactive that had to be manned, that display, but you could do something like that on posters. I think it's a good idea. Do we have time to do it? Who's gonna volunteer to put that stuff
Well,
together? I can help order everything, but I don't know any of the information.
In the fall, when you see all the trucks laden down with grapes headed to Canandaigua wine, for lack of a better explanation, like Constellation Brands, I suppose. There's definitely a story there. And I bet you that Constellation Brands already has their story told and documented. And it would probably be easy. I mean, and they are truly a global business, utilizing local products. I think that would be a great story. I would say that maybe, what is it, Modesto Foods that makes tomato sauce? Would be, also a very interesting story. Who's producing tomatoes in the area for Modesto? I don't know. Maybe it's outside of the town of Canandaigua, so it doesn't qualify. But, I think that being so focused on a corn plant might not be as interesting as how all of the whole process on maybe a 10,000 foot level, not necessarily a 30,000 foot level, but not at the ground level either, would be interesting.
What if we send by request to the farms in Canandaigua saying, we're gonna put a display about local farms. Do you mind send us a picture of your farm with your product and a paragraph description of who you are and where does your product go?
Yeah.
So in your case, you say, well, our most of our milk is processed locally and comes back to you in any of these brands.
Yeah.
Just something short, but says, hey, we're two families, this many generations, kids, and we let them give us a paragraph and then we just put together the poster.
Yes,
Yeah,
But
that's
to
a
your
great- That's a
point-
great idea. I think that.
we've heard the story about the families who do the farming here. I like the idea about what they're actually growing, what it's being turned into, and where it ends up. Not that the families aren't important, but we do tell that story a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So it's a well-known story.
It could be, there's this many crop farms in Canandaigua, this many dairy farms, and they produce this and it goes to just try to. Then somebody doesn't get upset because they didn't get included, or it's hard to include everybody, so it's
Yes, but
not all personalized. Oh, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
You think about the Sands family, they're building this YMCA for the community over there. That's going to be a great asset. Why don't they deserve a little bit of the spotlight peck on them? Honestly, I mean, they certainly do, I think. In a lot of ways, they do a lot of good for this community. I know that it's not ag, but it certainly is a very influential business in our community in the town of Canandaigua that's utilizing local, vineyards products. I mean, just because we're the ag committee doesn't necessarily mean that we have to, think dairy.
That's all food production.
Yeah, food.
And the idea is to send it to all the farms that we have in the list, and whoever replies, then we'll exclude those that didn't reply. But we can let them tell us how far is your product going.
I don't have a list really of contacts. We have that old table we have on the ag committee website, but I don't know if that's still accurate.
We had a list of the number of your dairy projects. The number of farmers there are interested in using it. No, that's not right. Actually are using it and selling it. The amount of decrease is the number of farms that
Oh, yeah,
decreased.
has
Yeah.
decreased.
decreased so dramatically.
Interesting, very interesting. But a reverse, another aspect that's similar to Constellation is the dairy co-op that you're a member of. And, all of your products go to this dairy co-op. And, but you're taking all of these things that you're inputting into producing milk. Okay, maybe that's too far down in the weeds, but dairy co-op would be very interesting, I think, to go ahead and take a look at and see where those products go to and, how we feed a region, from the town of Canandaigua.
There's even upstate yogurt on airplanes. It goes everywhere.
There you go. So, we really are relevant on a global basis, definitely on a regional basis.
Well, if we're gonna do something like that, I think we just have to decide what we're gonna do instead of going in too many.
And
many
everybody
directions.
needs
We'll
to
just
agree on
throw-
what they are going to do, because I don't have time to do all
Yes.
this.
Well, I think we
That too.
need just one thing to do for this, and then maybe start planning a little bit earlier for next year's fair and doing
So we basically
something
have 2
a
months,
little bit more.
and you have 1 more meeting between now and then unless you plan extra meetings.
Well, the other aspect is do we really need to do the work ourselves? I bet you the co-op
You
has
do,
their
you
story
have to
already
reach out and
paid,
get the information.
done.
You guys have
Yeah.
to get it for me. I'm not gonna pay you to do it.
No, that's okay.
So yes, and I do like all these ideas, but yeah, time's ticking.
Do we know what Farm Bureau is gonna be doing? Do we,
No, and actually, they very well may have a poster like this that we can use. Let me make a note of that and I'll
You wanna reach
check,
out to
I'll
them?
check into that because they have stuff like that and it might be, might not be exactly what we're thinking, but if it's close enough and we can use it, we might as well use it.
Yeah, and we'll just
Instead
put
of
a town of
reinventing.
Canandaigua stamp on it, on the
Oh,
lower
we'll put-
left-hand
that
corner.
sign will be next to it, so it'll be
What
fine.
I can do
With
is
the
make sure that I know where
code.
all of those are, and I'm happy to make some sort of little half page, half sheet handout that can be cut and that people can take. And if you guys gather information that I can just put into something and ask Quick Print or MRB to print out, I'm happy to do that.
I
too.
think we can do that.
But it's
for you.
grant season,
Yeah.
so I can't do anything else.
But we
Let's
can-
start
we
with
can do
Farm
that.
Bureau to see if they have it. And if not,
Yeah.
we'll go down the list of whether it's Constellation or Upstate or
Okay, so by Monday, we're telling Casey that we're gonna have a static display.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And,
I
maybe
can
the
email them tonight and
deciding,
tell them we're gonna have a static display.
maybe,
In the spot he talked about, and we'll have to agree among all of us to get it there and take it down that day.
I think we can
And-
collaborate. I think we
Yeah,
can
that's,
collaborate by email
working
over the
on
next
it.
few days to get this done.
Yeah.
And then also, I think one of the deciding factors is who has the best, media available for us to be able to turn in and make it to, the presentation that we want it to be into.
Yeah, or depending on what we get a hold of, we might not need to do anything. We might have
Maybe,
a
yeah, if
poster
we could
and
just gather existing materials.
That's the goal.
so, but we'll ask Sarah to not do any of it.
I'm willing to help, I just can't do a
Oh,
ton
no,
of stuff.
I know.
I've already promised to do a bunch of stuff for
No,
other things right now.
When you email Casey, just ask him if we can put those in other places, not just that one.
I wanna say at least a few, maybe 3 or 4 of those, because I remember them carrying them in the parade, and there were at least a few people carrying them. So we should have enough to put in an area wherever we're gonna have a
And then
display.
maybe we
in.
can put one at every barn.
So what is the purpose of this, though, being displayed at the fair? What is the
Why not?
purpose of it?
Just calling, the same as putting on the road, calling the attention that the fact of the town of Canandaigua is a farming community.
So.
And if you're gonna have a
that's good idea.
display,
That-
we
well,
need to
let me-
say
let-
whose
let-
it is.
Let me continue though, because it's really interesting to think about that. We want to go ahead and draw attention to the fact that we're an ag community here. Well, is it putting it up, this poster, is it putting in, where would you put it up? Would you go ahead and get to the top of the stands, where they have the tractor pulls and get a banner that goes, 20 feet across? This is the town of Canandaigua is an agricultural community. I don't know. Is that too much? Maybe we get an airplane, go over there with a banner and fly over the fair 3 times a day.
Not this year.
I'm just
We'll start with.
I'm pressing you.
Well, you
You know?
you fly, right? So you can do
Not,
that.
not yet.
I would say if we can put one in the entrance of the parking lot and then another in the barns.
There you
we're
go.
better off.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's
That's
it.
it. And,
Let's see
and,
how many we have first.
and is this the right thing? Is that the right tool to use?
That's what we have now, so it's gonna be this year.
Yeah, but you can go to print media and get this put on, a fabric that you can stretch as a banner across the entrance to the fair.
Do you really think they'd want us to do that?
Well,
They're fair.
I'm just
And they're
throwing out
county.
examples,
Yeah.
things to think about, and seeing if it hits any sensory, areas of our brains. But
I
where,
got-
where would they allow us to put it would be the question.
Yeah, I think these are questions for another year.
I got a
It's,
list.
They're getting too
I'll,
big.
I'll pass everything on from Casey that I get and we'll move along. from there.
I got a list
Of,
that Jake Repper designed and built when Marge Van Inzigam was still town supervisor. And it's got a list of all the milkers at that time,
mhm.
and be interesting to compare it to
Now,
now.
That'd be great. I have one more idea I want to throw at you
We
two.
do have 3 referrals and an overlay to consider
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
let's
Probably
move
But-
along to the referrals.
could
I
you,
know.
could you put this
Let me
in
hit this out. Let me
a
get this
line
out.
item on every meeting so that we don't let it slide and then wait till a month before we gotta do it, because we'd be talking about it every time we meet.
Yeah.
We're
Usually we
almost
do.
within a
This
month.
year's just a bit late.
So we'll make a note.
We're almost
do that.
within a month.
So how would you two feel about putting up how hay was processed and put up in the barn 100 years ago? I know that's, something that's a passion of yours.
But is it a passion of fairgoers?
It would be really interesting to see that for, a 10-year-old kid to be able to go ahead and pull, a pulley, and have a crane come down and grab some hay and pick it up and move it over and drop it into another
So
spot.
you're just talking an active thing that is constructed and they can use, not just a story that they can put together. So
I do that all the
would be
time.
He does that.
I got it set up for it.
There's our display right there.
Well, how much time do we have?
That'll have to be planned for another time for more room and stuff.
Okay, so there it is.
That's a good
It's-
idea,
It's
though.
in the record.
You've done that at the fair before?
Or
Your hay display, you've done that at the fair?
not the fair, no,
Not fair,
same
A
page.
lot of places.
I mean, we could ask Casey, how much room would you give us for that? I bet you he
8
would
by
give us
8.
what we need. I bet you. he
It's
would.
all set up, right?
Well,
Sort of.
Yeah, I just have to set it up, but
Yeah.
I'd help you.
well, let's
The
do the,
date, that Wednesday. of the
We'll do
fair,
what we discussed. That's a good idea, but maybe
is
for
26.
another time.
26th through the 30th of July. So it's a Tuesday through Saturday. So the Wednesday is the 27th,
What are the dates?
27th of July.
A month. Or less. No, more.
No, not much more,
No.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to France for the 17th through the 25th.
All right.
I will be around that week. So I can come to the fair and help do setup and take down and all that.
Yeah, I'll be there as well.
Real quick, so I don't forget. Did you guys get my email that this Saturday is calling hours for Gary Davis and a reception at Ananda at King's Hall? It's his family doing this. I just wanted you guys all to know. I'll be out of town, so I can't go, which is really sad because I really wanted to go.
I think we're planning on going.
Yeah, you're all welcome and invited. His family wanted to make sure everybody in the town who worked with him knew about it, so that for the tenth, we wanted to. One more thing I just want to mention before we do these. The language you guys all talked about last year in the town code about how the act committee is made up and who's on it and all that is finally going to the town board on Monday. We have a different board than we did last year. There could be some grumbling about non-resident members, which is unfortunate. But I just want you to know, they may have a conversation about that.
Non-resident.
you two.
We put in there that it was available, but non-residents could be part of the committee.
Right, and it's pushed in there as this, take out the requirement that you be a town resident. Because technically, the town code right now does require that ag committee members are town residents. It says residents, but the board has always ignored that and appointed whoever wants to be on it, which is, I know what you guys want and what we all want, and we've agreed that that's the right thing to do. But I just want you to know that we do have some board members who've started to say things like, well, I think all the board and committee members need to be town residents. So it might come up. I hope they pass it the way you guys wrote it, but it's just something that,
There's an explanation that it's, if they're not residents, they may still have a.
in the memo, remember we made a memo about that, and there's a whole paragraph about that, that the committee feels that your passion for agriculture and your involvement in the local agricultural community is more important than which town you live in. There's a point in there about a lot of our farmers have land in multiple towns, and municipal boundaries aren't, as important, and I didn't call you out by name, but I
I
did
know,
say.
you're looking at me.
I know, no, both of you now, technically, I did say, there are members on the committee who are not residents of the town anymore, or who just aren't residents of the town.
Nope.
No, he's a city resident, so
Oh, that's right.
In
technically,
the city.
City slicker.
who are, provide valuable input, blah, 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 blah. So it's all in there. We just have to see what they say.
Almost in the town.
Almost. Close, really close.
Really close.
Run through the cemetery, you're in
Yep.
town.
Well, the thing is too, you don't have a lot of members
No,
and you take two of us out and.
Well, we don't have a line of people waiting to.
You're right.
join either,
I'd be
so.
glad to step aside if you had people that were doing it, but
I don't want them to, I really hope they don't do
Well,
that.
there's a lot of members that live in my backyard.
Yeah. So Monday night, all they're gonna do is set the public hearing, which basically is telling the public, hey, we're gonna consider changing our town code, and here's the information, and we're gonna have a public hearing about it in August. So between Monday and the August meeting, if everyone wants to write a note and send it to the town board, that's not a bad idea,
So there's
We
no,
have
They're
the,
in support of.
in support, yeah. Because we've got the memo I wrote on behalf of all of you guys, and the language is in there, but personal anecdotal support isn't a bad idea.
Would you send us a copy?
Oh, yeah, what?
We
It's,
have it in the
Pardon?
minutes.
The
This is in the
memo?
minutes, right?
yeah, I can send it
It's
again
in-
if you want.
It's in the minutes?
It's in the agenda right now.
Oh. Yes.
Depending on what happens Monday, we can cross that bridge in the next meeting. if we need to.
Yeah, and it won't nothing will happen Monday. It's just announcing the public hearing. And it's, it was public as of yesterday. It's in the agenda, and all the language is in there too. But they won't make a decision until August. But yeah, if you want to send anything to the board, just make sure you send it before the 1st of August, because then we start taking everything and putting it into the agenda. We can't accept new outside comments anymore, so,
Understand.
but
We'll
wouldn't
put
be
that
a
in our
bad
minutes.
idea.
It
And
is.
I haven't heard anyone say anything. I'm just anticipating based on some comments, so.
You wanna, can
referrals.
you put in there the referrals?
Started.
I don't want to talk right now, but I have some things that probably will need to be said at the next meeting or sometime after August.
Oops, this is not the right word.
There's some insanity going on out this window right here.
This guy's been,
I really want to close, have a curtain across that.
did not have.
There was a guy that couldn't get in up at the front and didn't figure out that he had to go around the back, and he was really freaking out.
This is the same guy. I know you're reaching out.
It might be.
think
He
he
keeps
needs
like
a,
going and coming back.
it's a mental health consult.
He's definitely stressed about whatever he has to
Yeah.
present himself to the judge.
Let's see, maybe having
Wasn't anything
internet
Is
issues.
there anybody in that car? Yeah, there is somebody in
Yeah,
the
there
car.
is.
Okay. Just afraid with all of the insanity we have in this world, some of these people that are unstable might be
It doesn't want-
looking in the
doesn't
window
wanna
at
do
us,
anything.
No, they're probably here.
shooting at us
There we
or
go.
something like that.
Well, the guy waiting in now.
Yeah, they're like really excited.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
yeah.
great. I can't get in the
1947
door.
state issue 32. We'll just go there, bye. Sorry, it was giving me some issues. Still giving me issues. As long as I can get there. Okay. I don't know if you guys looked at this already,
I found them, but that's.
but this first one,
I haven't really looked.
all right, well, I'm not gonna click on anything. It's this parcel here. This is North Star Coffee and the Scoops, ice cream place up on 332 on your way into Farmington.
Yep.
I think this is a spa, or a
Yeah.
hair place, a
Yeah.
salon. So now you know where you are. It's this parcel right here. It has a silo and a pond. It's somewhat vacant.
Sorry, the hair salon doesn't do it for me. I don't know where it is.
And they want to build a lawn and garden equipment shop.
Yeah, it's all like weedy and stuff there. I think it's all kind of overgrown.
What is the entrance to the field behind? Do you know how they access it to farm?
I don't know.
I think off of the,
Can you zoom out and
Around the corner.
yeah, but off the other,
The other room.
Over here, maybe?
yeah.
Okay. It's in an ag district. It's really close to Pritchard's PDR.
Is
Right
it,
here.
is it located right next to Route 332?
Uh-huh,
right
it's
right
on
on.
332.
There's Paddleford Brook right there.
Yeah,
So I,
so that's why you guys are getting it.
I make a motion that it does not constitute the last of valuable agricultural lands.
I second,
Second,
Yeah.
I third.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Mostly because it's not.
It's
really
not farmed.
being
and-
farmed.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
it's
been
kind
farmed
of,
and there's not a lot of machinery that you wanna move on the 332, so
it's a weedy overgrown section of that.
Yeah, but what kind of soil is it?
what's the matter?
Could it be farmed?
Must be somebody's and somebody's only farmed up to the edge of
Mostly
it.
it
not
does.
farmed.
Yeah, that's-
So,
Yeah.
Right?
Ridiculous if
and
it's.
that, that's it. There's only two
Oh,
types.
Well,
forget it.
there's that line. right
So
there.
what are they gonna grow there?
Tells you
Asparagus?
Something.
I don't know enough about
I'm not
soils
sure
to
what.
have any opinion about it.
I think they would probably be able to grow asparagus there. But not much else.
Number 2,
Second one is look geographically or numerically. Pear Street Extension. Let's go to Pear Street Extension. Let's go to the third one. Just because it's closer.
Tugway Road. huh?
Yeah, just because I don't want to try and search. It keeps getting mad. It's just gonna go south.
Tugway Road, is that this one?
No, this is Parish Street Extension.
Oh.
Right, where am I? Sorry. Let's see, is it that guy? No. There's the horse farm. Okay. So this one is a subdivision. They're gonna take the big lot. This is the horse farm on Parish Street Extension, right where it comes, right before it comes out to State Route 21. They're just gonna parcel off the house. Don't know why.
I think they sold it at auction.
Okay, it's just,
The whole barn?
The house separate the house was
It's,
up for
it's like
auction.
22 acres. They're gonna take 2 acres off around the house. And then leave this, so there'll be 2 separate parcels instead of 1 big parcel.
I make a motion.
And
There's no
it's like right, it's about 2
Second.
acres right around the house.
Yeah, there's no loss.
no loss of farmland.
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Is there any negative to the horse farm not having a home on the property? Anymore?
It's a home for the horses.
What are
He
they
lives
gonna
there.
do with the horse? The horse
They
farm?
don't vote.
The only thing is if they apply for a permit to build a house on one of the other fields, but
They could,
Mhm.
and maybe that's the plan. I'm not sure. I didn't read any of that in the stuff.
Well,
didn't
that's
see that.
probably gonna be a longer
that
term.
would
possibility.
require a new, another application, right?
Not
Wouldn't they
necessarily.
Not
need a
necessarily.
subdivision to do that?
No, they wouldn't, because that's what this is doing. This is taking the barn and putting it on one parcel and the house on a different parcel. So now technically, I don't think there's a residence in that barn. I don't know. if There's like an apartment or anything, but the barn will be on its own parcel. So if someone wants to build a home there and there's not already a home on the parcel with the barns, they can. And they don't need to go to the planning board for that unless actually, they would because it'd be site plan approval because it's building a house from scratch. So you would see it.
Well,
again.
if they're building on the same parcel as the barn, wouldn't see it. Any kind of
Yeah, you
problem
would
with
see
that
it.
anyway.
Right.
But for now, you're just supposed to be commenting on making 2 lots instead of 1. So now we'll go south to Dugway. Similar project. Sorry, I do have stuff pulled up, but because it's acting funny.
Dugway Road.
This is
one of my
Dugway?
favorite roads.
I gotta remember where it was. Every time I try and search it. It's mad.
It's highly-
This is not giving you a mistake anymore.
Hmm?
This is not giving you a failure.
Yeah. Okay, this is the right one. Okay, this is farmed. They're going to, again, they're taking 1 large parcel and making it into 2. It's a 63.5 acre parcel. The small lot is gonna be around the house. It's like 3.5 acres. leaving the
South side of the
rest.
road.
Yeah, this right here.
Okay.
They're gonna basically draw a box around the house and the trees and the yard. It's not cutting like this whole corner off, it's just this. They're leaving this and this big loop around and the rest of it as the larger parcel. And this will be the smaller parcel. I think they want to build a house somewhere on this parcel, but that's not this application, so we don't know where, but they did actually say that was their intent. So I'm not sure where, maybe it'll be over here, I don't know, or up here, but it is currently farmed, I don't know who farms it, I don't know what it is, maybe it's hay. But they didn't give us that information about who's doing what on it.
Well, that's not taking any agriculture out.
This action, no, what they plan to do next, probably will.
Is there any other reason why we're getting this besides the fact?
It's
that-
currently being farmed and it's in an agricultural district. And it's within 500 feet of other people doing.
So we've made comments before, if this action doesn't cause an issue, but further
But their intent
intent.
likely will.
could
We
have
don't
an
know
impact.
exactly where they're gonna put it.
Yeah,
We have done it in the past, just say this can potentially,
Yeah, they're either gonna
Infringe
cut
on the
down
use of
trees and put it in the
agricultural.
woods, or they're gonna put it in the farm field. There's no other place for them to put a house in the future, once this is sectioned off. It's either gonna be over here or somewhere in here.
So you said they want to build a house.
That was their intent. That's why they're subdividing the lot.
Okay, so wouldn't it be logical though to assume that if they're subdividing the lot, that's the lot that they were going to build the house on?
They're gonna put it on the big lot.
They're
Because
taking
you
the
can't
lot in the
have
house.
more than one residence on a single lot. That's why they have to create 2 lots. So that they can put another house there.
The new lot is where the house is already.
Okay.
Yeah, this little one has a home on it, which leads
Oh, it
us
does.
to understand that when they do build a house, it'll be on the leftover 60 acres.
I make a motion to say that this predisposes the larger piece to potentially be lost for agriculture.
Second,
That makes sense.
So technically, it does not cause a loss, this action, but
It
it's,
predisposes the larger piece. Simple loss.
Maybe there's a better way to say that. I mean, it's a pretty good way to say it, but the fact that they've already stated that they're going to build a house on this bigger lot, we would need more information to be able to make a determination on how much of an impact it will be an impact on ag, because it's going to disrupt the farming that's going on there right now.
so it's
But
unknown
how
how much of an
much?
impact it's gonna have.
of an impact will it have? We don't know. We don't have enough information. So if they could answer that question for us.
I'm sure they will, and you'll get it as an application eventually.
all right, so all in favor of Fernando's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
It's been a while since you guys have had to do referrals.
We're getting rusty.
As usual, I'll put this into final form and I'll send it back out, and then I'll send it to Chuck next week.
You send it to me, I'll include the minutes as well.
Okay, I will, thank you.
As expecting to see the Hickox one come through, but if you didn't see it come through, I guess they're not trying to subdivide.
I don't know. Depends on which, like what deadline they hit. Like it might be next month.
Would someone buy it?
Solar told me that they did, but originally they told Charlie, hold on, don't plant. And then Charlie planted everything but the
I
last.
was
10
gonna
acres.
ask, I saw that when I drove by there with the tractor the
Yeah.
other day, that it was
Yeah.
staked off there.
So Sodders and I both put an offer to each of us get 10 acres. And then the neighbor across the road put an offer for the last 10 acres. But they didn't like our price. They consider.
You were trying to buy it all together. Not,
Section
not,
it in 3, but keep it as farming. So
Yeah.
the 3 went together so that it stays rented by Charlie stays, but
Oh,
we could only, each of us were gonna buy a third of the field.
without it being, it's not actually divided like that. You're
Without
just-
necessarily-
Just agree.
But they rejected our offer because we didn't offer enough for him. And he said that he had offers on the last 2 pieces to sell 5 acres, 5 acres.
Hmm,
And that's the part that Charlie didn't plant. The wet areas that he technically has offers. So that's why I thought it was gonna come in here for 2 subdivisions, but
depends on,
we
yeah.
couldn't have a final of did they agree on price or not. He just came back to us saying, well, I need more money because I have offers for these 2 pieces. And we said, thank you, but no thank you.
So that is subdivided there already then, some,
No,
No, he has to come through us because right now it's a 30 acre
what's,
piece.
which
So-
road is this?
It's Hickox Road.
Oh, Hickok, okay.
Yes. Right. So on the left before you hit 32. If you're going down Hickox,
Mhm.
before you get to 32 is the piece on the left.
the for sale sign is still there though.
The for sale sign is still there, yes.
this one right here,
So it's
right?
not been
Yes.
sold.
But I saw Dave Sauter the weekend and he said, did you find out who bought it? And he said in the realtor told him that it's moving to, what is the next step after for sale pending, for
Yeah,
sale pending?
Well, those signs change overnight sometimes. Maybe
Don't
maybe it
they?
is sold.
Don't they?
Is that the owner in Middlesex?
the one who owned it, yeah, the most recently.
Yes, that is the guy trying to sell it. He lives in by the lake. originally from California.
South Side Valley.
Maybe he wants to join the ag committee if these two guys get kicked off.
Well, if you start talking with Charlie, probably not the type of person we have here.
I'm teasing him.
Yeah, there's other ones in the middle piece because he doesn't want anyone overlooking his pond right there. And I want the south piece, so I don't want a house next to my backyard.
Mhm.
Are you still recording?
Yep,
Okay.
we can cut that out if you want.
Yeah, I was just curious if we're gonna see it or not.
Yeah, if they do come through to subdivide, you will see it, because it meets all the criteria to get it kicked to you guys. Okay, that's all your referrals. I saw Doug walking out when I came in, and he did want me to mention, there's some mutterings about relooking at the town's solar law, which, depending on why people want to relook at it, could be a little bit of a red flag for you guys, because right now we sit in a pretty good spot with our solar law, because the planning board has to take everything you guys say into account before approving a large solar farm on any parcel of land anywhere in the town. There's some chatter that another solar company might be interested in the same parcel down the road where I think Policini's, I think that might be what he was talking about, that you guys said before, no, it causes a loss in agriculture, and the planning board said no. So someone might be trying to do that again. But anyway, there's just been some conversations about that. Maybe we need to relook at the solar law and stuff like that. So just
That's gone on for a little bit though, because I
your
think
ears out.
Doug had mentioned that before. I think there's
Yeah.
some people from the planning or zoning that mentioned that.
I mean,
To
you
me
know,
also.
it's just conversations coming up, but
Department of Energy right now is putting out billions of dollars in funding for these types of renewable resources. So there's going to be huge pressure.
so I asked Doug, I said, and I already knew what he was gonna say, but I said, well, do you feel like we don't have enough appropriate locations left in the town for solar companies to do sightings, you know, for new developments for solar? And he said, no, we still have other non-agricultural locations. And I said, well, I feel like maybe we should just leave it alone then until that's a problem, because if it's not a problem right now, why should we change? Why should we take a look? It seems like balancing is working right now.
Well, and the only change would be to make it easier for it
Less,
to happen.
exactly. Which is, you know, what we don't.
And I'm not against them in the right spots, but usually where they want to put them for the ease of moving power and everything, it's
Yeah,
not where anybody else wants them.
What do you mean the roofs? People are gonna
Yeah.
realize the mistake they made when they realize they cannot eat electricity.
so anyway, he just wanted me to tell you guys that, just be aware. Obviously, if anything really started to happen and there was a recommendation to change the law, you guys would see it.
Well,
And you
Let
could make comments.
let me go ahead and make a comment on this right now. You know, we're restricting development in the town of Canandaigua with where we put water lines and sewers. We can do the same thing for solar power, renewable energy, by restricting the power grid and where you can put the power grid and where you can route it.
The only difference is that the sewer and water is put by the town and the electric infrastructure is put by these companies. If they are willing to put the investment on those.
But there are more, the Federal Energy Resource Commission, FERC, has so many more regulations and requirements that if a town really wanted to, they could tie it up in negotiation or in, rulemaking for a very, very long time. So if the town does the right thing and does not want this type of development in the area, and I don't really care one way or another, well, actually I do, I'm pro ag. Then we need to be taking a look at, where the power grid can go and make it difficult.
Well, we already do make it restrictive for whether or not they can put solar on a property if it's currently farmed. You guys naturally will say, well, it's currently farmed. If you put solar panels on this land, it's not going to be able to be farmed, so it's losing viable agricultural land. I mean, I know there was the one that you guys agreed wasn't, the one on Monks Road actually
Mhm.
ended up going through, but, you know, because of the comments you make, the planning board will base their decision on that. So, I mean, it already prevents, in the town of Canandaigua, we end up not allowing solar to go in on active viable farmland, just by the nature of how it's written, how the law is written. So, I mean, it has, do you guys feel like it's been working? We've had that solar law for a few years now, since 2017, maybe?
What do you think?
Sounds like it.
You're more intuitive
I
with
think
it than we
so.
are.
Travis.
And if you say so, we believe you.
Has he discouraged anyone from trying to apply? Is it public enough that he has
No,
discouraged?
people are still calling and knocking on the doors in the development office wanting to put solar.
And the one thing I think we will see in the future, if we make it more restrictive for development, there'll be much more pressure to put in solar from landowners, even farmers, because if they don't have the option to develop their land, they want to, solar's the actually probably better economic option. So there will be more, it's gonna go from pressure to one thing to the other if you change it.
Yeah, we have to find balance.
You could put solar panels on top of your dairy barns.
No, bad idea.
You could go ahead and power the entire town with that structure.
I know people that have tried.
Anyway, sorry, I changed the
That's okay.
subject, but he
We'll be on the
wanted
lookout for it.
Yeah,
me to mention it, just so you're aware.
And I think with the overlay, I thought we agreed on all the language last time and Doug was gonna try to move it along.
Well, that's the question, right? So the one
That's
that
what
I
I thought
sent
we-
the other day, or the one he sent out
But I
on
couldn't,
May 5th or something, to everybody, is the latest version. And so, if you like that, we can send it.
that would be what we agreed on the last meeting.
I think it's when you met, yeah, because we didn't have a May
This
meeting,
one?
so it would have been from April.
You didn't have a quorum at that time, right?
I don't know, I wasn't here for the April
Any
or the
reason
March.
to add?
meeting.
Anything on electric on that one, or just keep letting it go as it is?
Do we want to review it quickly?
Doug has an involvement that would budget.
How much
Yeah.
parking lot space or, acreage is there in the town of Canandaigua?
Sorry.
They could cover every single parking lot with solar.
Yeah, I thought maybe we didn't have a quorum that time, but I thought we agreed on it and we were going to, maybe Doug was gonna change a couple little
I
things.
think
I
so.
think he had some small changes.
And
You
then-
asked me to talk to him, and when I talked to him, he said, yeah, it's the one I sent out. So I
Yeah, so I,
looked, and he had sent it like May 5th or 6th or something to everybody.
There was underlying consensus for this by
yeah,
the group.
and then just the next
So it
step.
hasn't been changed since then, since the
Okay.
beginning of May, but you guys haven't talked about it since then, so. And I
Okay.
wasn't here, so you'll have to tell me where you guys sat with
As
it.
far as I can remember, I think we were okay with it and wanted to start to.
So this,
go
the
to
next step would
who's
be
it
an
go?
ordinance committee. Yeah, because this is a bigger,
So,
I think we're satisfied with it, right?
and they may want, they'll talk about it amongst themselves, but then they may want you guys to come, or I don't know if they'll want at least one or two of you to come the first time they look at it or not, like before. Now, it looks different than the last time.
so I make a motion that we move it to the ordinance committee.
I second that. So,
All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
I don't know what their running list looks like right now. So I don't know when it'll go on their agenda, but I think they do sometimes meet twice a month, so they might be.
wasn't Gary
Next
the
one
head
is
Sorry,
like,
of the ordinance?
I think it's like 27th or
Sorry,
something
how
like
you
that.
guys meet.
It's been
I don't
twice a
know.
month.
Okay.
that you don't limit-
Wasn't Gary the head of the ordinance?
He was,
Really protect the post
John
enough, so there's
Casey,
no accident.
I think will be
That's
the
what they
new
do in
chair.
California.
Yes, the new chair
That's
in
already
Arizona.
happened, right?
And it
Okay.
provides protection for the cars that are parked there from the sun.
And he was, John Casey was already a member of the ordinance committee, so.
And they added Terry Fennelly as a member and Adeline Rudolph as a member.
Yep, all right. So let you know which agenda that one ends up on, depending on what they're working on right now.
Okay,
Move to adjourn.
Between you and me, we can
I second.
chat to John and Sean and ask them.
Okay.
Nothing else?
Okay, well,
Thank you, everyone. And we'll try to get ahead of the fair more next year. I had
was
talked,
just
I
a-
had talked to Casey a few times in
Yeah.
between. He kind of didn't, I don't know. Well, I think they were kind of deciding that maybe it wasn't gonna work as well as in the past, so that's why I didn't really. He usually pushed me a lot more trying to contact me, and so I thought maybe if he's not, then it's not really
Yeah,
gonna
we can
happen.
go ahead, yeah.